Hey everyone, remember the 80s? It wasn't just a decade, it was a whole vibe, especially in our homes. We ditched the 70s earth tones for bold colors, new textures, and maybe questionable choices. From Hollywood lights to teal carpet, it was memorable. Ready for a quick trip down memory lane? Let's dive into the iconic home trends of the totally awesome 80s. Glass blocks, the shimmering walls of modernity. Alright, let's talk glass blocks. Those thick, heavy squares of wavy, translucent glass truly materialized everywhere in the 80s. You'd find them forming shower enclosures, creating stylish partitions between rooms like kitchens and dining areas, framing front doors as sidelights, or even constructing entire feature walls. Their unique ability to let ample light flow through while providing visual privacy, thanks to that signature rippled texture, made them scream modern and upscale. But here's a fascinating fact. Glass blocks weren't an 80s invention. Their history dates back to the late 1800s for industrial use. The 80s simply grabbed this utilitarian material and gave it a major dose of glamour for residential chic. Homeowners loved how they could define zones in open floor plans without closing them off, keeping spaces feeling airy and bright. That distinctive frosted, slightly distorted view became incredibly fashionable, seen as both practical and pleasing. Hollywood embraced the look too. Watch the 80s classic, Look Who's Talking, and you'll spot those unmistakable glass block walls setting the contemporary scene. This wasn't just a fleeting fad either. Their popularity endured throughout the 80s and well into the 90s decor trends. It's remarkable how these hefty blocks became such an iconic and instantly recognizable hallmark of 80s design. Honey oak cabinets, the golden glow of 80s kitchens. Oh, the inescapable honey oak cabinets. Picture a standard 1980s kitchen, and these golden-hued wood cabinets almost certainly come to mind. Whether in new construction or renovations, they were the default choice, specified by builders and embraced by homeowners seeking a modern look. They were absolutely everywhere, gleaming in friends' houses or starring on TV sitcoms. At the time, honey oak felt fresh and stylish. It was known for durability, was relatively affordable, and undeniably made kitchens feel brighter and more welcoming. Those characteristic orange and yellow undertones in the prominent grain paired perfectly with other 80s staples like patterned linoleum flooring and pastel walls or floral borders. However, like many 80s trends, the honey oak aesthetic hasn't aged gracefully for everyone. Seeing a full kitchen of them today instantly evokes strong nostalgia. You can almost smell the hairspray. While some are cleverly painting or refinishing them for a modern update, for many, these cabinets remain a potent, sometimes loud reminder of a design era that fully embraced warmth and visible wood grain. They are a true symbol of the 80s kitchen, representing both its style and its eventual datedness. Lucite furniture, the clearly cool trend. The 80s ushered in a fascination with sleek, futuristic materials and clear furniture, particularly pieces made from lucite, acrylic glass, perfectly captured this spirit. Transparent furniture quickly started appearing in the most stylish homes and forward-thinking offices. You'd encounter shimmering see-through coffee tables seemingly floating mid-room, elegant dining chairs looking almost invisible, or minimalist ghost end tables holding lamps. This clear aesthetic offered a dramatic departure from the heavy, dark wood furniture dominant in previous decades. Intriguingly, lucite wasn't an 80s invention. It enjoyed earlier popularity during the Art Deco era of the 1930s-40s. However, the 1980s rediscovered its potential, polishing it up and focusing on its clean lines and modern appeal. A major part of its allure was visual lightness. Lucite pieces took up minimal visual space, making them ideal for smaller rooms or creating an open, airy atmosphere. They blended seamlessly with other popular 80s materials like chrome, glass, and brass, and provided a cool counterpoint to bold colors or patterns. And the novelty factor furniture you could see right through was undeniably appealing. Whether manifesting as a sleek waterfall console table, minimalist nesting tables, or strikingly sculptural chairs, Lucite made a clear statement: modern, chic, and undeniably 80s. Memphis design, the wild child of 80s aesthetics. If one design movement captured the exuberant, playful, rule-breaking spirit of the 80s, it was Memphis design. Originating not in Tennessee, but Milan, Italy, led by Ettore Sottsass in the early 80s, its name was reportedly inspired by a Bob Dylan song. Memphis was essentially a rebellion against perceived good taste and minimalist sterility. It joyfully embraced bright, often clashing primary and pastel colors. It celebrated bold, asymmetrical geometric shapes, triangles colliding with circles, angled lines, stacked forms, all interacting unexpectedly. Perhaps most distinctively, Memphis incorporated playful, almost cartoonish patterns like random squiggles, the bacterio print, zigzags, polka dots, and blocks of contrasting color, mashed together in a high-energy visual mix. The style was deliberately provocative, undeniably fun, funky, and irreverent. For an instant visual, picture the iconic opening credits of Saved by the Bell. That vibrant explosion of shapes and patterns is pure Memphis. While its direct influence on mainstream furniture was relatively brief, its impact resonated powerfully through graphic design, fashion, music videos, and TV sets throughout the late 80s and early 90s, capturing a youthful, anti-establishment vibe. Whether admired for its audacity or seen as just quirky, Memphis design left an indelible mark as one of the decade's most distinctive visual languages. Laura Ashley floral bedding, drowning in Ditsy prints. Entering an 80s girl's bedroom often meant stepping into a floral world dominated by Laura Ashley. Her signature patterns on bedding, curtains, and wallpaper weren't just popular, they were practically a mandate for achieving peak feminine charm. Think total floral immersion. Designs were characterized by their delicate, romantic feel, featuring dainty ruffles, soft pastel backgrounds like dusty rose or powder blue, and surfaces densely covered with small-scale Ditsy prints, tiny roses or sprigs. The overall effect was intensely feminine, cozy, and evoked a romanticized vision of cottage life. Her collections ruled department store bedding sections and mail-order catalogs throughout the decade. Mothers embraced its traditional sweetness, while teenage girls adored its pretty, dreamy quality, making it the definitive style for creating cozy retreats. Matching sets were key. Comforter, pillow shams, bed skirt, and coordinating curtains were required for the full look. Hollywood reflected this ubiquity. Watch Kim Basinger lounging on characteristic florals in My Stepmother is an Alien, 1988. It's pure 80s bedroom essence. While contemporary tastes lean more minimalist, there's undeniable sweet nostalgia attached to that full-blown floral flair, representing comfort, familiarity, and a specific brand of 80s femininity. Beyond the bedroom blooms, what pattern dominated your 80s living room? Florals, geometrics, or maybe just solid mauve? Tell us about your quintessential 80s couch. Metal wall sculptures, the shine and shape of 80s art. Cast your mind back to 80s homes, and you'll likely recall prominent metal wall sculptures in living rooms or hallways. These weren't subtle, often quite large and intended as statement art. They were incredibly popular. Common motifs featured soaring flocks of birds, geese and seagulls seemed favored, abstract arrangements resembling stylized branches or leaves, or radiating sunburst designs, often mixing textures. These sculptures brought metallic drama to walls, typically finished to look like brass, copper, or chrome, reflecting light and adding visual interest. While mostly two-dimensional, overlapping or bent elements often gave them a sense of depth and texture, enough for that desirable wow factor. Finding a natural home in contemporary houses, their appeal was broad. A significant part of their popularity stemmed from easy decorating. Hang one large, eye-catching piece on a blank wall, and voila, the space felt finished. They were bold, undeniably attention-grabbing and slotted perfectly into the slightly flashy 80s aesthetic. However, their beauty had a practical downside. Keeping them clean was notoriously difficult. All those intricate shapes and overlapping sections were prime dust territory, making dusting a genuinely tedious chore. Yet, this inconvenience hardly deterred anyone then. These metallic artworks were embraced as affordable symbols of contemporary style. Novelty phones, quirky communication centerpieces. Before smartphones, the humble landline was a crucial fixture, especially for teenagers whose social lives revolved around it. The fun wasn't merely the endless chats conducted while stretching those incredibly long, coiled receiver cords across rooms, inevitably ending in tangled messes and pleas from family needing the line. The real excitement, the true status symbol, lay in the novelty phone. Forget the standard issue beige or black models. The 80s unleashed a glorious wave of phones designed to look like anything but a phone. Chat on giant red lips, hold Garfield the cat, cradle Snoopy on his doghouse, pick up a sleek race car, or even dial on a cheeseburger. These phones were vibrant, deliberately quirky, instant conversation starters, and just undeniably cool. Owning one declared your personality. If you didn't have one, you likely spent hours circling favorites in the glossy Sears, Wish Book, or JC Penny Christmas catalog, leaving strategic hints. Privacy was laughable, of course, with shared lines and the constant threat of eavesdropping or being told to get off. Despite these limits, novelty phones injected huge fun and personality into communication, transforming a utility into playful pop culture decor that perfectly captured the 80s expressive side. Extravagant drapes and lace curtains, the layered look. Few trends embodied the 80s more is more philosophy like extravagant drapes layered over delicate lace curtains. This wasn't simple window dressing. It was a statement of formality and perceived luxury. Think massive, heavy curtains in opulent fabrics like velvet or satin, often in deep jewel tones or popular pastels like mauve, stretching ceiling to floor and pooling dramatically. Functionality took a back seat to fashion and grandeur. Embellishments were equally over the top. Elaborate tiebacks with thick braided cords and chunky tassels cinched the drapes aside. Above, elaborate valances were practically mandatory. Complex swags, cascading jabots, or formal pelmets added yet another layer of fabric and intricate detail, evoking stately homes or theaters. Peeking from beneath these heavy outer layers were invariably sheer, delicate lace curtains, offering a softening contrast, filtering light, and adding traditional, romantic elegance. This specific pairing, the heavy, textured drapes combined with light, airy lace undercurtains, became the undisputed power couple of 80s window fashion. Seen everywhere from suburban homes to TV sets, it was the go-to formula for a properly dressed window, perfectly embodying the era's love for layering, texture, and unapologetic decorative excess. Floral patterns, an indoor garden everywhere. The 1980s didn't just like floral patterns, it embraced them with obsessive passion, deploying them liberally everywhere. This wasn't subtle, it was full floral immersion. Coordinating motifs across multiple elements: wallpaper, sofas, armchairs, lampshades, even kitchen canisters was the true 80s way, creating spaces like intensely cultivated indoor gardens. Styles varied widely. Delicate, small-scale pastel roses and sprigs, influenced by Laura Ashley, offered sweetness and tradition. Conversely, large-scale, almost abstract florals and bolder, vibrant palettes, think big poppies or stylized tropical flowers, tapped into the decade's more expressive side. Regardless of style, florals felt ubiquitous. Home decor magazines and showrooms overflowed with blossoms. At the time, this look was perceived as cozy, charming, inviting, and sophisticated. While the sheer density might seem overwhelming today, back then, floral patterns were the ultimate signifier of a warm, comfortable, lived-in home, deeply defining the visual texture of the decade and bringing the garden indoors, often all at once and on every surface. Indoor houseplants, the great green takeover. Walking into a typical 1980s home often felt like entering a flourishing greenhouse. The love for indoor plants, rooted in the 70s, exploded into a pervasive cultural phenomenon throughout the 80s. Homes weren't just decorated with a few plants. They teamed with them, transforming living rooms, kitchens, and especially coveted sunrooms into verdant sanctuaries. Cultivating an impressive indoor jungle became a point of pride. Certain plants achieved iconic status. Ubiquitous spider plants dangled offspring from macrame hangers, a 70s craft thriving in the 80s. Lush Boston ferns spilled over bookshelves. Towering ficus trees stood sentinel in sunny corners. Durable snake plants added verticality, and trailing pothose vines cascaded from high shelves. This obsession influenced home design itself, with new construction often featuring dedicated sunrooms or garden windows to maximize light and space for botanical collections. The overarching ethos was about dissolving the indoor-outdoor boundary, bringing nature's calming presence inside. This passion also heavily influenced decor patterns. Fabrics for bedding and upholstery, plus wallpaper and shower curtains, frequently sported bold leafy prints, tropical motifs like palm fronds or bamboo, and vibrant botanical illustrations, extending the lush aesthetic even to sunless rooms. The 80s truly elevated houseplants from simple accessories to essential, living components of home life, representing vitality, style, and a widespread desire to connect with the natural world. From ficus trees to floral couches, the 80s loved bringing nature indoors. What was the biggest plant or boldest nature-inspired pattern you remember having or wishing you had back then? Share your greenest memory. Pastel wall colors and the reign of mauve. If 80s walls weren't wallpapered, likely floral or striped, the dominant paint choice was overwhelmingly pastel. These soft, muted, often chalky hues define the palette for homeowners seeking contemporary, soothing interiors. The spectrum included delicate pinks, powder blues, seafoam greens, lavenders, and peaches, applied enthusiastically, sometimes covering entire rooms, other times used as accents or contrasting trim. Having pastel walls clearly signaled being on trend. Towering above all others in sheer ubiquity, however, was mauve. This specific, somewhat ambiguous shade, a dusty mix of pink and purple with grayish undertones, became almost synonymous with the decade's aesthetic, much like avocado green defined the 70s. Mauve permeated seemingly every space. Bedrooms, bathrooms, tiles and towels included, living rooms, upholstery and carpets, even kitchens. Its rise was partly linked to a renewed appreciation for artist Georgia O'Keeffe's desert paintings following her death, connecting mauve to sophisticated, gentle landscapes. This cemented mauve's status as the ultimate refined, romantic, and unmistakably 80s wall color, offering a sense of calm sophistication amidst the decade's bolder trends. Heart-shaped tubs, the ultimate romantic soak. Few fixtures evoke the 80s blend of aspiration, romance, and slight kitsch like the heart-shaped bathtub. These dramatically oversized, distinctively curved tubs became the ultimate symbol of couple-focused luxury and indulgent bathing. You likely encountered them in popular culture, heavily featured in Pocono's honeymoon resort commercials or luxury hotel suite ads, even if not in homes you knew. These tubs transcended mere function. They made a bold, unambiguous statement about romance and luxury. Cheesy? Perhaps. Tacky? To modern eyes, often yes. But in the maximalist 80s, where bigger meant better and thematic design was celebrated, they fit right in. Interestingly, the first one appeared back in 1968, installed by resort owner Morris Wilkins in Pennsylvania as a playful gimmick for honeymooners. The novelty proved popular, spreading beyond resorts. By the 80s, heart-shaped tubs were installed in upscale private residences, often placed prominently in spacious master suites, sometimes elevated, surrounded by mirrors, or under skylights to maximize the romantic ambience. While potentially comical today, during their heyday, they were perceived as the pinnacle of luxurious, playful indulgence, a bubbly icon of 80s aspirational romance. Entertainment centers, the command center of media. In the 80s living room, the entertainment center reigned supreme. It wasn't merely furniture, it was the room's focal point, the technological command center, a veritable shrine to the expanding universe of home media. Often absolutely colossal, these units frequently spanned an entire wall, their towering presence a practical necessity. They housed the diverse, bulky array of electronic components and media formats defining the era: vinyl LPs, burgeoning stacks of cassettes, the essential VCR, amidst the VHS versus Beta battle, a proudly displayed turntable, perhaps early game consoles like Atari, and those impressively large, boxy stereo speakers demanding substantial enclosures. Typically constructed from particle board clad in wood veneer, oak being a perennial favorite. These sprawling units featured complex configurations of shelves, dedicated compartments, and cubbies. They aimed to organize and proudly display every gadget. Higher-end models often sported glass-paneled doors, sometimes smoked or leaded, secured with satisfyingly clickable magnetic push latches, though notorious fingerprint magnets. More than just functional storage, the entertainment center was a status symbol, a testament to embracing modern tech. It was the central hub where music, movies, and video games converged, a massive monument to the 80s media landscape. Brass fixtures and decor, the golden touch, that tarnished. If one metallic finish defined 80s home decor, it was undoubtedly brass. Its presence was pervasive, adding shine, warmth, and perceived luxury to seemingly everything. Brass elements proliferated throughout homes, gleaming on light fixtures, lamps, chandeliers, adorning cabinet hardware and doorknobs, comprising fireplace tools, holding candles, framing pictures, and even forming countless small decorative objects. Miniature brass animals like swans or geese were popular bookshelf inhabitants. This bright, golden glow was intended to elevate the ordinary, making spaces feel fancier and more sophisticated according to prevailing tastes. However, this lustrous appeal had significant drawbacks. Genuine brass required regular, diligent polishing with specialized cleaners, like Brasso, to prevent tarnishing, which dulled its shine and caused greenish spots, a chore often neglected. Compounding the issue, much 80s brass decor wasn't solid, but merely brass-plated over cheaper metal. This thin plating was susceptible to wear, scratches, flaking, or peeling, revealing the less attractive base underneath. Despite these maintenance challenges and durability issues, during its peak, brass was an undisputed symbol of 80s elegance and contemporary style, even if its gleam required constant effort. Venetian and vertical blinds, slats, snags, and sunlight struggles. Beyond heavy drapes, the other dominant 80s window treatments were Venetian and vertical blinds. Venetian blinds, with classic horizontal slats, were staples, but unlike today's resilient versions, 80s Venetians were typically thin, flimsy metal, usually aluminum. While offering a sleek, modern look in various colors, their fragility was legendary. An accidental tug, pet paw, or vacuum bump could easily bend the delicate slats permanently, leaving unsightly kinks. Then there were vertical blinds, another major trend, favored for large expanses like patio doors or picture windows. These long, hanging slats provided a clean, contemporary look. Appealing in theory for adjustable light control, they had practical annoyances. Airflow from vents made them sway, twist, and clatter noisily, compromising light blockage. Furthermore, the mechanisms, especially the plastic hooks and bottom chains, were notoriously prone to breaking, leading to dangling slats and frustration. Though improved versions exist today, the 80s iterations often felt like a constant battle against malfunction and fragility, despite being key to the modern 80s interior. Thinking about 80s windows, besides blinds or florals, what was hanging in your house? Macrame plant hangers? Something else uniquely 80s? Let's hear about those window-adjacent treasures. Mirrored surfaces, reflecting the 80s glam. Beyond paint and wallpaper, another surface treatment that undeniably defined 80s glamour was the extensive use of mirrors. We're not just talking about a practical mirror above the vanity or near the front door. The 80s embraced mirrors as a full-scale decorative material, often covering surprisingly large areas to maximize shine and create an illusion of spaciousness. Mirrored walls became a significant trend, particularly popular in dining rooms, living rooms, entryways, home bars, and even bedrooms. The intention was to visually double the space, bounce light around, and inject a dose of high-wattage glamour. These mirrored panels weren't always simple clear glass. They were often offered in smoked gray or bronze tints, or sometimes featured subtle etched patterns or beveled edges for added detail. Another incredibly common application was mirrored closet doors, frequently spanning entire walls in bedrooms, usually framed with that signature shiny brass or gold-toned metal. The reflective trend even extended to furniture itself. Coffee tables, end tables, console tables, nightstands, dressers, and occasionally even bed headboards could be found entirely clad in mirrored panels, sometimes arranged in geometric patterns. This look added an unmistakable touch of Hollywood Regency sparkle and flash, fitting seamlessly with other popular materials like lucite and brass, contributing to the decade's overall sense of opulence. The obvious downside, immediately apparent to anyone living with them, was the relentless battle against fingerprints, smudges, streaks, and dust, all of which were highly visible on the reflective surfaces. Keeping large mirrored expanses pristine required constant vigilance. Yet, for a significant period, lavish use of mirrors was considered the absolute height of chic, perfectly reflecting the decade's love for shine, drama, and creating glamorous illusions. Skirting on furniture, hiding legs in ruffled style. Furniture skirting, a trend with 70s roots, truly flourished and perhaps peaked in the 1980s. This practice involved dressing furniture, particularly beds, sofas, armchairs, and ottomans in fabric skirts extending all the way to the floor, completely concealing the legs. Driven by a desire for a softer, more traditional, or simply finished aesthetic, it ensured no unsightly legs were visible. These skirts were rarely sleek. They typically featured gathers, pleats, like tailored box pleats, or abundant ruffles, adding volume and texture. Fabrics often coordinated with other room textiles, echoing popular floral prints or pastel solids. Beds were almost universally outfitted with practical dust ruffles, while upholstered seating commonly sported integrated skirts. Initially, this look projected cozy charm or traditional formality. However, living with skirted furniture meant dealing with significant dust accumulation in the fabric folds and the frustrating tendency for these skirts to act as black holes, swallowing small objects like remote controls, socks, or toys for extended periods. Even some unexpected pieces like end tables occasionally got skirted. While its popularity might seem elusive today, furniture skirting was widely perceived as an elegant and homey touch during the 80s, a quintessential detail illustrating how even furniture often got fully dressed in that era. Neon accents, bringing the arcade glow home. Summoning the visual essence of the 80s inevitably brings the vibrant glow of neon light to mind. While long used commercially, the latter 80s saw neon migrate directly into homes, adding a jolt of urban cool. Though not as widespread as mauve paint, neon accents made bold statements, favored particularly in teenagers' bedrooms, the ultimate sign of cool, basement rec rooms, home bars, or spaces embracing a cutting-edge aesthetic. Neon wasn't just illumination, it was deployed as luminous art. Glowing tubes formed playful geometric squiggles, stylized palm trees, or pink flamingos evoking a Miami Vice vibe, jagged lightning bolts adding rock and roll energy, or even names, typically in electrifying hot pink, lime green, or electric blue. It instantly injected energy, vibrant color, and a distinct, slightly rebellious edge into decor. Even without owning neon art, its cultural presence was inescapable via commercials, MTV music videos, and movie scenes set in trendy spaces. Flashy, loud, impossible to ignore, and unforgettable, much like the decade itself, neon became a glowing symbol of the bold, optimistic, high-energy 80s spirit. Hollywood vanity lighting, bathing in the bulb's glow. Step into an 80s bathroom, and the Hollywood vanity light likely transports you back instantly. This iconic setup featured unmistakable rows of large, exposed, globe-shaped incandescent bulbs mounted on a strip fixture, running horizontally or vertically around the mirror. Directly inspired by actors' backstage dressing rooms, the design aimed to imbue daily grooming rituals with glamour and star power. Everyone wanted that Tinseltown magic. Fixtures were typically finished in coordinating 80s materials like ubiquitous honey oak or shiny brass. Energy efficiency was non-existent. Each bulb was a powerhouse, often 60 to 100 watts, illuminating bathrooms with near-surgical intensity. While feeling glamorous, the harsh, direct light wasn't always flattering or accurate for applying makeup, potentially leading to surprises in natural daylight. Despite these drawbacks, the Hollywood vanity light was more than functional. It cultivated a feeling, elevating everyday routines to seem more special and luxurious. Was it decidedly over the top? Absolutely. But in the unapologetically bold landscape of 1980s design, over the top was often precisely the point. Wall-to-wall carpeting, the Plush foundation. In the 80s, wall-to-wall carpeting wasn't just an option. It was widely considered the gold standard for home comfort and style. Standard practice involved covering significant portions, often entire houses including stairs, with carpet frequently laid right over beautiful hardwood floors. The ideal 80s carpet wasn't thin. It was characterized by plushness, thickness, and undeniable softness underfoot. This devotion stemmed from perceived benefits: warmth, sound absorption for quieter homes, and a comfortable surface. Crucially, carpeting was also a primary way to introduce color and texture. While neutrals existed, the 80s fully embraced bolder carpet choices like mauve, dusty rose, various blues, and forest green. However, the most iconic and memorable carpet color was undoubtedly teal. That rich, deep blue-green hue appeared everywhere, lending a fashionable, dramatic edge to living rooms and bedrooms. Though preferences have largely shifted back to hard floors, in the 80s, wall-to-wall carpet reigned supreme, wrapping homes in cozy softness and representing modern luxury, making rooms feel finished and comfortable according to the era's standards. And that's a wrap on our 80s home tour. What a wild ride of bold colors, unique textures, and unforgettable trends. From brassy accents to plush carpets, the 80s definitely had its own style. Which trends did you love, and which make you laugh now? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and share Gold Days USA. Thanks for watching.